Greetings everyone. The topic for today is adverb clause. So let's move towards the definition first. An adverb clause, as the name suggests, is a clause that does all the functions of a normal adverb. One can identify an adverb clause by asking when, where, how, why, and how often. Adverb clause describes or modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So we can see that all those functions which were being done by an adverb, same functions are being done by adverb clauses as well, which is the modification of verb, adjective, or another adverb. And beside that, answering us the questions related to when, where, how, why, and how often something happens. Unlike other types of clauses, an adverbial clause is always a dependent clause. So it will depend either upon the previous clause or the next clause in a sentence in order to convey its meaning in the sentence. How to use adverb clauses. Adverb clauses, as discussed earlier, can be used to provide information about when, where, under what conditions, how, and why an action is taking place. They also give the reader a description of an adjective and an adverb. Always remember that an adverb clause begins with the subordinating conjunctions like after, whether, if, because, although, even though, etc. Adverbial clauses or adverb clauses can be found in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the sentence. Examples of adverb clauses used in the beginning of a sentence. When adverb clauses are used in the beginning of a sentence, it is usually followed by a comma. These clauses are often subordinate or dependent clauses and cannot stand on their own. We have already discussed this thing in the previous lessons as well, in the lessons of the clauses, that another name for the dependent clause is the subordinate clause, and independent clause has another name which is the main clause. So here are the few examples you can see. If you work hard, you will be able to score good grades. Over here, if you work hard is being written in the bold letters and it is an adverb clause which has been separated with the help of the comma from the rest of the sentence. In the second example, you can see, in case you like it, let us know. In this example, in case you like it, again, we have a dependent clause because it is depending on let us know. What we should let us know in case you like it. So there is a condition over here that if you like something, let us know. Although they drove really fast, over here we can see that this clause is going to start with although, which is a subordinate conjunction. Although they drove really fast, they could not reach there in time. So over here, although they drove really fast is the adverb clause. Before you make your decision, again it is starting with the subordinate conjunction. Before you make your decision, make sure you think this through. So over here, before you make your decision is adverb clause. In the next example, you can see, as soon as you met her, call me. As is subordinate conjunction. So as soon as you meet her, call me. Here in this sentence, as soon as you meet her is the adverb clause. Now we have examples of adverb clauses used in the middle of a sentence. Adverb clauses that appear in the middle of a sentence are enclosed within commas, and even if removed from the sentence, it lets the sentence to convey its meaning. So here are the few examples. My cousins, though they told us they would not come for the movie, they somehow made it. So, though they told us that they would not come for the movie is an adverb clause because it is starting with a subordinate conjunction and it is a dependent clause, and if we will remove it, so it will convey the meaning of the rest of the sentence. He remembered after he left the office that he had not sent the EOD report. So over here, after is a subordinate conjunction, and this whole clause which has been highlighted after he left the office is an adverb clause. Remya, since she was not keeping well, decided not to go to work today and tomorrow. Since is again, we have a subordinate conjunction. Since she was not keeping well is an adverb clause. In the next sentence, you can see, my friend, because he does not like working in the IT field, started his own company. So because he does not like working in the IT field is an adverb clause. In the next example, you can see digital money, even though it has been made legal all around the world, is not accepted or considered safe by common people. So even though it has been made legal all around the world is a subordinate clause, or you can say even is a subordinate conjunction. So we have the two hence and clues for an adverb clause. Beside that, you also have to see whether it is answering you the questions related to when, where, how, why, and how often. So we have an adverb clause. Or if it is modifying a verb, adverb, or another or adjective in a sentence, so you can say that this is an adverb clause. Examples of an adverb clause used in the end of the sentence. Whenever adverb clauses are used at the end of a sentence, it does not demand or require any sort of a punctuation. Here are a few examples. Aaron was made to practice the song for the competition until he sang it perfectly. So until, again we have subordinating conjunction. Until he sang it perfectly is an adverb clause. Angel kept rambling on and on as if she wanted to prove that she is broke. So as if she wanted to prove that she is broke is an adverb clause. So in this example, Angel kept rambling on and on. Why and how? So we have to see if it is answering, if this clause is answering you this question as if she wanted to prove that she is broke. So again, it is again suitable for the adverb clause. The dog got so comfortable with my brother when, so it is answering you, this clause is answering you about the question when. When after he cuddled her for a while. So after is a subordinate conjunction and it is answering you the question when, because this is the function of the adverb, so which is same for adverbial clause as well. So after he cuddled her for a while is an adverb clause. We felt time was very slow because we were sitting idle. So it is answering you why, because we were sitting idle. So because it's subordinate conjunction, it is answering you the question related to why, and it is a dependent clause. So we can say we have an adverb clause because we were sitting idly. In the last example, you can see you will be able to go to the theater to watch movies as long as there is no lockdown. So as long as there is no lockdown is again an adverb clause. So this clause is answering you the question when. So you will be able to go to the theaters to watch movies when, so as long as there is no lockdown. So we have an adverb clause which has been mentioned with the bold letters in this example. Types of adverbial clauses. So now we are moving towards the adverbial clauses types. And adverbial clauses come in many different forms. Each of these forms is characterized by the nature of the information the clause is communicating. So adverbial clauses of manner. Adverbial clauses of manner describes how the action described in the sentence main clause is taking place or previously took place. So here are a few examples related to adverbial clause of the manner. So she addressed the crowd as she had practiced in the manner. How she addressed the crowd. So it is answering you the question how, as is a subordinating conjunction and it is a dependent clause. So we have an adverbial clause. But we are now discussing the types of adverbial clauses. So they design the new product the way innovators problem solve around design flaws. So again, it is telling you about the manner that how they design the product, the way innovators problem solve around design flaws. So the way innovators problem solved around the design flaws is an adverbial clause. Now we have adverbial clause of place. Adverbial clauses of place describes where the action in a sentence main clause take place. See how they work in these examples. My son told me another fight broke out where he eats lunch at school. So where he eats lunch at school is telling you about the place, which is an adverbial clause of a place. They drove beyond where the city ends. So where they drove, they are telling you about the place or the location beyond where the city ends. So we have an adverbial clause of place. First, we have to identify about where is an adverb clause, the function of adverb clause, the hints and clues, and then later on we can easily identify the types of adverbial clauses. Adverbial clause of condition is mentioned here. With an adverbial clause of condition, you can communicate the conditions related to the verb, adverb, or an adjective in the sentence main clause. These examples demonstrate a few ways to use adverbial clauses of condition. In the first example, you can see we will be sitting in the conference room until they tell us to leave. So until is telling you about the condition that till when they're not going to leave until they told them to leave. So until they tell us to leave is the adverbial clause of a condition. So in the second sentence, whether my husband likes it or not, so again, it's a clause for the condition. Whether is there. We will be celebrating Thanksgiving at my parents' house. So whether my husband likes it or not is an adverbial clause of a condition because it is starting with a subordinate conjunction and it is condition is there and beside it it's a dependent clause. Now we will move ahead with the adverbial clause of reason. So there is reason based on each clause. Adverbial clause of reason tell us the reason for the action being taken in the sentence main clause. These clauses generally use subordinating conjunctions like because, unless, since. Here are a few examples of sentences that include adverbial clauses of reason. In the first example, you can see we adopted these two cats. So reason is there because they are a bonded pair. So because they are a bonded pair is a adverbial clause of reason. He is amazing at billiards since he spent his youth working in a pool hall. So since he spent his youth working in a pool hall is an adverbial clause of reason. Now we have adverbial clause of time. Adverbial clauses of time communicates when the action in a sentence takes place. So before she got home, she called and ordered a pizza. So before she got home is adverb clause of time. That when she ordered the pizza, before she got home. So they the second sentence example you can see they assembled, dressed and marched out as the band played. So as the band played is again the time that when they assembled, dressed and marched out as the band played, which is an adverbial clause of time. Adverbial clause of purpose. Like adverbial clause of reason, adverbial clause of purpose frequently involves subordinating conjunctions. These two kinds of clauses can look similar, but they have one key difference. While adverbial clause of reason gives the reason why something is happening, on the other hand, you can see that adverbial clause of purpose explain the reason to take a specific action. So here are a few examples. We studied all night so we would pass the exam. So this is the purpose. That why they studied all the night because there was a purpose. So we would pass the exam because they wanted to pass their exam. In the second sentence you can see so that they could ease the traffic flow, the event organizers split the group into three cohorts so that they could ease the traffic flow is the adverbial clause of purpose. That why the event organizers split the group into three cohorts, because they wanted so they could ease the traffic flow. So this was the purpose behind doing this action. So this is the difference between adverbial clause of a purpose and adverbial clause of a reason. Now we have adverbial clauses of a comparison. Adverbial clauses of comparison are clauses that communicate how the subject of a dependent clause compares to the subject in the main clause. So there are the two types of adverbial clauses of comparison: adverbial clauses of comparison of degree and adverbial clauses of comparison of manner. Here are a few examples of adverbial clauses of comparison of the degree, which you can see. Felix is as good at video games as he is good at weightlifting. So over here it's a comparison that as he is good at weightlifting, he is good in the video games as well. So we expected the afternoon class to perform better on the test than the morning class did. So again, then the morning class did is the adverbial clause of comparison, because they are comparing it with the previous class. Adverbial clauses of concession is another type of adverbial clauses. In an adverbial clause of concession, the writer acknowledges or admits a factor that modifies the main clause. Take a look at these adverbial clauses of concessions. In the first example, you can see, despite how I had good intentions, the interaction went horribly wrong. So over here, you can see, despite how how I had good intention, is the acknowledgement or admitting the factors that somebody was good at intentions, but the interaction went horribly wrong. So this is a verbal clause of concession. And in the second example, you can see the department had hired the first person they interviewed, though 20 people applied for the job. So again, it is a factor that though 20 people applied for the job, but the department had hired the first person which they interviewed. So this clause, though 20 people applied for the job, because it's starting with a though, which is a subordinate conjunction, it is a dependent clause because it is depending on the previous clause, and it is also adverbial clause of concession, telling you about the factor or admitting or any factor. So that's why we are calling it this type of adverbial clause is the adverbial clause of concession. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel for further update on grammar related topics. Thank you.